Whether it's tomatoes and veggies for the table or roses and bushes for your landscaping, plants take your money and they take your time.
Patience is a virtue here. And in this heat, the last thing you want to do is kill them with too much water. So new this morning, our John Shumway sought out an expert to get some advice.
Yeah, it seems weird that you could kill a plant by giving it too much water, but the reality is plants, like people, can be finicky. And when and how you water your plants makes a huge difference. They can be a major enhancement to your surroundings and your mood. So you want to help, not harm. And harm can come from the best of intentions.
They see a plant that's maybe wilting or doesn't look so good, and they decide to pour a whole bunch of water on it, and then that could be a problem. Don Brinkle of Brinkle's Greenhouses in Reserve Township says plants are sensitive. Overwatering's bad because you can lose the roots, and then when the roots get too much water, they can't breathe, and then they suffocate. And they wind up looking like this. Roots slimy, not good. As opposed to... But you want an active root system. You want roots that look like that. White roots, actively growing, they're breathing. The problem is... Each plant requires a different amount of water. It's really a trial and error basis to try to figure that out. While most flowering plants can be watered from above. Well, for tomatoes, that's the worst thing you could do. You want to keep the leaves dry on tomatoes. A lot of people take their hose or sprinkler and just wet the leaves. That's what's going to cause blight. That's going to cause splashing up on the ground. Instead, Brinkle says water them around the base. Tomatoes, you would just leave the hose on real low and just let the ground slowly saturate. And that's generally true for most everything in the vegetable garden. You want to keep those leaves fairly dry. You don't want to have that moisture with this heat that can cause problems. Now, on really hot days, Don says that you may need to be watering on a daily basis. But again, we're talking about moderation. If the ground is really saturated or the plant in the pot is really saturated, you might want to just give it a little bit of a break so it can dry out a little bit.
I mean, good advice, but what about those hanging baskets, right? They always look so great. You go out, you buy them, you bring them home, and then they start to wilt and not look so beautiful any longer.
They look depressed.
Yeah,
kind of like one at my house right now.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that one. Don says the best way to do this is kind of pick up the basket, feel how heavy it is. If it's really light and it's blowing around in the wind, it may need water. But if it's really heavy, it's probably heavy with the moisture, so you might want to let it dry out just a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, the general rule of thumb is, you know that little sticker that came in the plant? Read it, because it's the directions. It gives you an idea of how much you need to do. And also, there are these sensors that you can buy, less than $10. Walmart has them, Amazon, and they actually give you an idea of how much moisture is in the soil and whether or not you need to water.
Very interesting.
That's what those little white things are. I usually just throw them away.
Things called directions, you know, a lot of us aren't too good at
Quite a
following.
concept. They're there for a reason.
Exactly.
We thank you, John.